All right, this is the Hub Radio, and this is Who's Your Candidate podcast, and this is hosted by citizens of the Hub Radio, citizens of um, the city of Compton. We're gonna get this thing started, man, and we're gonna go right into our panel here. Let's get y'all going.
All right, good evening, everybody. You are listening to Hub City Radio. My name is Frederick Gordon. I am a citizen of the city of Compton. I live in District 2, and I'm here just to talk about my concerns for the city and how we plan to move forward.
Hi, my name is Gilda. I am a resident of Compton in the lovely District 3. And I'm here to do what I always do, and that is give my opinion of my city.
Yeah, I'm Terry Nolan, District 3, and I'm just here to support.
I am Jocelyn Sanchez. I'm a Compton resident of District 4.
Man, am I by myself on this one? Wow. Two, three, four. So, Gilda, you want to start us off?
Yeah, let's talk about the breaking news. The news that just hit the airwaves today, and that is the resignation of our city manager, Cecil Rambo Jr.
Wow. Yeah, I'm shocked. I'm just gonna be honest and say that I'm shocked. I will say this personally that Mr. Rambo for me has been accessible. I think that's the best word I can use. Accessible, right? When I have brought things to his desk, he's told me to call him. I've called him, and he's gotten on those things. And I will say that for a lot of the things that I've seen done, this is just my personal opinion, I've seen Mr. Rambo actually there. When there was the one of the Compton cleanups, he was there in his clothes working. When we did the renovation of the Olympic Park, he was out there working. I saw him even fill potholes, so for me, it's a little shocking. I don't know where we're going to go from here, but that's just my opinion of it.
As the CEO of our company, so what's going on there? Got a lot of questions. He's not there to answer.
There's a lot of questions that I have, though. I agree.
I think it's a lot of questions for everybody. I mean, what prompted the resignation?
Right.
Mhm.
What did it have anything to do with the defeat of Jana Zarita? I mean, let's talk about that.
I will say that, and of course we don't want to jump ahead of ourselves. I will say that this election was something else. Now that I would definitely put that out there. I think that there's definitely a need for some questions to be answered, and I do hope within the coming weeks or whatever case may be that we get a little bit more clarity on the reason for this resignation. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but that's kind of shocking seeing that we've had multiple city managers within the last couple of years. And you would expect for this go round to be a little bit different because of the necessity for us to move forward, the budget being currently written up for next year. The monies that are being allocated to fix the streets and things of that nature. So for me, it makes me wonder what now happens. How does the progress now go with us having a city manager that's resigning? How do we fill that position? And then what does that look like with everything that we have on the table? Does everything halt? That's my question.
I don't really think it takes a city manager to get those things done. I mean, most of the stuff that needs to be done is already in writing. It's just a matter of funding and finding who's going to do the work. But I think probably the most important thing going forward with us right now is communication from our city council with the citizens. I mean, the citizens should be the voice as far as what's going forward in the city of Compton. So those council district members, the members that are on the board should come out to the council, to the community, speak with the community members, have some forums, inform the community members about what's going on, and find out what it is that they're most interested in having done in their districts.
Yeah.
Instead of always, a lot of times we go to the city council meeting, they have things on the agenda that we've pop up on the agenda and they vote on it. Has nothing to do with whether we want it to be done or don't want it to be done. So it's like we're totally uninformed. If you don't go to a city council meeting, you know, as we were speaking about before earlier, you might end up with something on your water bill that you didn't even know was coming, you know?
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of elderly people right now that are receiving these letters about, what is it sewage?
Yeah, the sewage.
They're
The
receiving
sewage.
letters about
Like-
sewage, but they're confused. They don't understand it. You know, I've got a few calls that they're wondering, why are they asking me about my taxes? You know, they want me to get a notarization to say that I own my property to get a tax break, and they're not sure what the tax break is about.
Mhm.
You know, so I really didn't have any information at the time, and I was out of town when I got the calls. You know, but I did find out that it's so that they can get a tax break, which is, I think, like only something like $65.
Hmm.
You know, and they gotta go spend $20 to get it notarized just to get it legalized. You know, so.
That's a challenge.
I'm wondering if the city manager was a casualty of war. I know we keep talking about there are lots of questions that we need to ask, but I think prior to his resignation, there were questions that as taxpayers and stakeholders in the city of Compton that we needed to ask. I think Compton keeps setting itself up for failures. We recycle city managers, and we just haven't found one that is a good fit for our city. And I've said it before the council meeting, so I'm not gonna be shy about repeating it. Are the people that are hiring the city managers capable of hiring anyone? Because we've said we've had, 7 city managers in 9 years? Whoever's hiring these people is doing a piss poor job of it.
Well, I think, I mean, my chime in is that, you know, I just think that when the city manager doesn't do what the person that brought them in to do whatever they want them to do, they all of a sudden want to get rid of them.
And that is exactly the problem. The city manager, it is the city manager, not your manager,
Right?
not your personal go-to person.
Yeah.
He
So-
manages the city.
Yeah.
So if he pisses you off, ding, 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 it might be because he's doing his job
Right.
and he's doing it adequately and correctly.
Right.
So what happened in this instance? Because we had the election June 4th and today is the 10th. So it took you 6 days after the election to decide that this ain't what you want to do.
Well, you know, hey, this is my personal opinion about this.
Oh.
You know, I've sat in council meetings and I've seen many council people blame the city manager for things that do go wrong, right? And personally, I just feel like we're always saying it's the city manager, it's the city manager, it's the city manager, it's the city manager, when the city manager doesn't get a vote, right? There are 5 people in the diocese that get a vote, right? And I've heard council people say this before, right? So I won't cut my tongue when I say this. You know, well, the city manager works for us, you know, and I'm like, okay, he works for us. So who is it that's saying don't move forward, or who is it that is saying do move forward, that's calling the city manager to be torn between the two, right? My thing is, you know, whether it took 6 days, 90 days, 100,000 days, whatever, I mean, this is all, of course, a contemplation of the when to get out, right?
Mm-hmm.
I am in my place, I'm just saying, like, all right, what happens from here? Whether the city manager stays in place or doesn't stay in place, what happens from here? Because at the end of the day, there's still 5 votes that have to go forward. There's still money that has to be spent. There's still things that have to be repaired. There's still things that have to be done. So what happens when you move now this city manager out of the way and things still don't get done?
Because you have your assistant city manager, Lawrence Adams, step in and pick up the reins and go.
And go. But we need oversight.
But we actually need oversight.
We
and
don't have that. We have never had it.
we don't have oversight with our city manager.
With our city, period.
But I get the fact that the city manager is an employee and he works under the council for all intents and purposes. but the man is CEO, which gives him a certain amount of power. So he's not just sitting back saying, I can't do this because the council won't let me.
Mhm.
Is it that you haven't done what's needed to be done because you don't know your job versus you haven't been able to do it? Now, what the problem is with most CEOs, you have to reel them in because they're out there doing everything.
Yeah.
This one is proceeding with caution. Now, there are some things that the city manager has done that is outside of his purview, and they've had to reel them in, as they have with other city managers. But there's something systematically wrong with you having 7 city managers in 9 years. There's something wrong with that, and the city has not progressed, and it's not because we keep changing city managers and we have instability. It could be that the problem lies with those 5 votes up there.
I was gonna say you touched on a good point because there's a correlation between the fact that he is our longest standing city manager and the fact that he moved cautiously
Right.
and didn't do anything. At least the longest standing one within the last 5 or 6 of them.
Right. And
He's only been here 2.5 years. So that's
Exactly.
really sad to say that he's been here longer than the last 5 or 6.
No, I think G. Harold Duffy was here longer
how long was
How long
Duffy?
ago? was he the
than
city?
Rambo. G. Harold Duffy just left because years are bad with me. Johnny Ford was assistant city manager under G. Harold Duffy. Duffy is the one that actually negotiated to bring Walmart to the city of Compton. I know you all think it was Galvin.
No, I don't.
It was not. It
I
was
don't.
G. Harold Duffy.
I don't.
So G. Harold Duffy was one of our longest city managers. But regardless, Cecil Rambo, let's just be clear. Has he actually done what he was hired to do?
But the
I'm
thing
a,
is, what was he hired to do?
Right.
See,
but
that's
see,
what was he
let
hired
me
to do?
But
jump
see, that
in on
is
that.
that is my point.
But let me
That's
jump
the
in.
point.
I want to jump in on that one with respect to what's being said, because we're talking about what are the limitations and prerequisites and requirements of a person to serve in a position. If we're going to go to the city manager, then we have to look at the entire diocese because
Because of the fact it's an appointed position.
exactly my point. Because I got up I didn't get up. I sat down. I sat down and asked the question at a town hall meeting in regards to a particular council person, and I asked them, what is your job description? What are you required to do? How are you supposed to represent us? What are we to expect from you? This person could not answer those questions. So to say, everybody knows their job or should know their job title. Listen, when I was working in corporate America, when I went in for that interview, they gave me requirements of my job. They said, here is what we expect of you. And listen, you can go on Google and find out what your requirements are. My problem is this, and this is not me necessarily on his side or not. My problem is this. Everybody is saying what the city manager did do and did not do. But I want to pose then the question of, if we're talking about what Mr. Rambo did and didn't do, then we have to pose that question across the board about what people did and did not do, what they did and did not say, how they did and did not vote. We cannot solely put this on the city manager of what has not been accomplished within the city, because before there was Cecil Rambo, there was other city managers, and things still weren't done with the current diocese that are sitting up there now. So we cannot just say, oh, it was him or he hasn't done blase blase.
Absolutely.
Last week, that's what I was telling you last week. We're at a point right now where we need to stop pointing fingers.
Exactly.
At anybody. It's not really about pointing fingers. I mean, we know that Cecil Rambo was appointed. I mean, pretty much everybody know that he truly is not qualified for that position. You know, but he's there by appointment for whatever reasons. He's there. We got Tana there for whatever reasons that she's there, and she was appointed.
That's right.
For whatever reasons that she was appointed. You know what I'm saying? And it's plain, it's clear. It's clear that there's a whole lot of cahoots going on. You know what I'm saying? But it's like they really need to read Robert's Rule of Law, because I mean, it's just like, man, you walk into a council meeting, you think you at a gang convention. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, there is absolutely no order up there. Everybody's doing what it is that they do, and everybody has their own agenda. Everybody's on a social media device, you know, reading whatever somebody else is feeding them. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, I mean, and we know this.
Right.
We know this.
Right.
As you said, nobody up there knows their job. Well, I'm not saying nobody.
Yeah, we're not gonna say nobody.
I can't say nobody.
Yeah, we won't say nobody.
We have a couple up there that actually know what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And not to say that within that couple that they're not manipulative either. You know what I'm saying?
True.
But if we have some form of oversight in the city, if we watch over what they do, if we try and ensure that the things that they want to move forward with as far as projects in the community or in the city, you know, that we watch over them to ensure that those things go forward and that it's the things that the people want, not something that they want because they're getting a kickback off of it or anything else. You know what I'm saying? We don't want bonds. We don't need bonds. You know, if we need a homeless shelter in the city of Compton, which we do, even if it's not a shelter, if we just provide a place for the homeless people to come and shower, or we had used clothes where they can get some clothes. But we don't need outside companies coming in and building stuff in our communities. We need to build, you know, it's property all up along Compton Boulevard that we could take, and we could build a place where they can come in, they can shower, they can get something to eat, you know what I'm saying? But we need to step up. We need to have an oversight committee. We need to say this is what needs to happen in the city. Take it to our council people and try to ensure that it gets done.
My 2 cents on that then is that people just need to hold their council people accountable, right? Because I think what happens a lot of time, and I was talking to Ali about this, is that what happens a lot of times, what halts our progress is people are intimidated, or people are afraid, or people are seen some kind of way when they hold their council person accountable for what we need them to do, right? So if we're saying these things need to be implemented, put in place, and things of that nature, I think what it's going to take then is the constituents of whatever district it is to hold their council person accountable for what it is that we want, because we are the ones that are asking them to speak on our behalf, right? And so if they're going to speak on our behalf, then we have to be able to go in and say, hey, no, I didn't ask you to say that. I asked you to say this.
Absolutely.
And if you can't say this, then all 5,000 of us, or however many people is in the district, need to now get together, and we need to say, we need you to roll out, because you're not listening to nothing we say.
And with that said, we're gonna take a break. And we're gonna get back to that. So hold that thought.
Okay.
Holding the thought.
Hold that thought.
Love is a weapon, love is a cure. It's an addiction that most can't ignore. We crave it, we need it, we feel it, no meaning. When I leave them, no feelings.
Cleanup Man. We provide professional, affordable, dependable services, from carpet cleaning and upholstery to flooring, 7 days a week, same day or by appointment. So call, text, or message 562-279-6488 for service as good as advertised.
Coco's Lip Smacking Cupcakes offers custom cakes and cupcakes for every occasion. We proudly bake everything from scratch. With every moist and mouth-watering bite, you will be smacking your lips by the time you are finished. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Lip Smacking Cupcakes.
We're back. All right, we're back. You're listening to Hub City Radio. This is Who Is Your Candidate podcast. All right, this is podcast number 2. All right, sponsored by the Hub City Radio. We are joined by 2 new faces. All right, would you please give us your name and what district you live in?
My name is Ali X, and I am in District 4.
Hello everyone, my name is Luis Damas, and I am part of District 3.
Ali X.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm Gordon. You don't even need to know my first name. So we kind of have been talking about this whole breaking news about the city manager changing and things of that nature, and we brought up the whole accountability forum for you all living in District 4, District 3. What does this change in city managers, or this resignation in city managers, what does it say to you? How do you feel about that whole change?
I mean, I knew the change was coming with the change of the dynamics of the city council.
Right.
I figured that we were going to lose yet another city manager. They're going to vote and appoint, another new one, and we can only hope that this ends the changing of the hands, that they actually, that there's no friends being appointed, that there's no agendas, there's no backdoor deals, because as we've seen over the last 9 years, as we stated before, there's been 7 different city managers, and it's the longest standing one. I mean, it's up for debate, but it was Cecil Ramble at 2.5 years. That's really embarrassing to know that we've, at 9 years, the longest standing city manager wasn't even 3 years. This is, and like you said before, there's an assistant city manager, so it really should not be the reason to have the dysfunction that we do. But yeah, the thing about it, if there's this constant changing of hands, and we have over like millions of dollars that have not been balanced on the books,
Yeah.
and we have all these debts and all this research that needs to be done, and on top of that, we have current issues with our water and
Right.
our sewage and our trash and our potholes and everything like that. So how is anything going to be done
I
if we
agree.
consistently keep firing our city manager? But then on top of that, what do you think about them wanting to now appoint the city clerk, and they want to
Right.
appoint the city treasurer? They want to put that on the ballot to have changed those from elected positions to appointed, which to me is ridiculous. If you guys can't even handle appointing a
City
city
manager.
manager,
Yeah.
why would I want you to now have control over the treasurer, the city clerk? That's dirty.
What do you think, man?
Yes. So what I think right now is that, piggybacking on what you're saying, I think it's right now we're just opening a new platform, because right now it's an opportunity to build a whole new chemistry, because as you guys were saying, they've been appointing several times. So now it's just finding someone that's actually gonna work with us for a while, or we need to set the expectations as residents as far as what is it that we require, what is it that we require from them, and what is it they're gonna do now for us, and how is it that they're gonna help our city. And it's really like looking at like building like the ethics, and like what is the expectations, like really looking at, we need the transparency basically from our city.
Yeah.
To really like get into like how, like you guys were mentioning earlier, like how is it that we're gonna do the hiring now? How is it that you guys are appointing these new city managers, right? So we need to really look into like what are the requirements when they're hiring? Because can I just go in and apply as a city manager? Or like,
Right.
That's a good question.
how does it
That's a
work?
good
I would
question.
right? So the thing is like, well, besides like our website not being like truly updated, because I go onto the elections and it still shows like the old the old people from the district still on the website. It's like it's not really being updated live, or we're not really being up to date like clearly. So I feel like it's really as a resident myself, like I don't feel like I see too much transparency.
That's
And that's
correct.
something that I would want to know. I would want to get more answers on that. Like where is it that I need to find these answers? Where is it, And not only me, but also the younger generations. How
Right.
are they being taught?
Right.
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
how are
Yeah.
they being prepared for that? You know what I'm saying? Because now we're just electing, like how you're saying, older electives, or people that have been within the city.
We're recycling. But did you
Yeah.
know that for your city manager, he does have a job description? He does have qualifications that he has to meet. So as residents, again, we need to make sure that these qualifications are being met, because if you have an outline and you say, as in any corporation, because the city is a nonprofit corporation.
Right.
As in any corporation, you have job requirements.
Right.
And when you start saying, well, you're my friend, so
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
you haven't done that, but that's okay because I know
Yeah.
you.
Right.
It's okay. Now you get the job. Now you're beholden to me because I got you the job.
That's
Yeah.
the dynamics of the city right
Exactly.
And that's exactly what it is, and that's what we need to change. And I also
You're absolutely right.
agree that we do not need to take those 3 elected seats and turn them into hirees.
Exactly.
Because those 3, the treasurer, the clerk, and the city attorney, as we all know, again, have to have licenses.
Exactly.
Those are specialized fields. But again, you're my friend.
Exactly.
So it don't
Let me
matter.
appoint you so you can get a check.
You can be the city clerk.
Right.
Even though you're the record keeper and the historian of the city,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't take good notes, but
Right.
that's okay.
Exactly.
That's okay. And this is what we have to avoid, and this is what gets us in trouble. And it goes back to the nepotism
Absolutely.
and the cronyism, and I got to take care of my family.
City Hall is crawling with
And
nepotism.
and,
Yes.
and that with that said, then let's steer our attention to this past election then, because now you have a changing of guards, if you will, and you kind of see a breakdown in friendships. You see a breakdown in connections. You see a breakdown in where you're on my side, you're no longer in that seat, so you're no longer on my side, or you're still in that seat, you know what I mean? Let me see how I can persuade you, how I can sway you, you know what I mean? And I think this, if nothing else, this past election taught us that people will dig out dirt
Oh,
that
they
was
dug.
buried
They dug deep.
for years, right? And let me go on record by saying this, that I don't have a problem with the millennial generation getting into politics. Let me go on record by saying that. I have no problem with young people getting
It's
to know
necessary.
politics. It is absolutely
That's vital.
absolutely vital and necessary for the next generation, the millennial generation, and under the millennial generation to get into politics.
Absolutely.
My problem is when we use the millennial generation to make our agenda met. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And what we have done, and I've been a victim of this as well. So let me not act like I'm just so made it to this point. No, we all have been victim of, this person has my best interests at heart, so let me listen to them, and come to find out that they really don't. They're using me for what they can get
course,
from me. You know what I'm saying? We have to be careful of the people that we try to put in a seat just because they're young and vibrant and
Yeah,
this,
they
that, and
have
the other.
energy.
You know what I'm
They're
saying?
charismatic.
You know,
Yeah.
come on. Let's stop that. And I think what we saw in this last election was a millennial generation that was not involved in the election, and they went with what they thought was popular. But what's popular doesn't change
Honestly,
policy.
that's scary. That's
That is
it's
absolutely
actually
scary.
Very scary. I mean, just as separate, but you see that in the primary election that's going on
Exactly.
right now, where people basing things off of, oh yeah, I like him, or how he's, or that's Obama. That was Obama's right hand man, so let me go vote for him.
Exactly.
And they're not even doing any research as far as, well, what is this person standing on?
Exactly.
That is dangerous.
Exactly.
See, the biggest problem that I feel like we have with that is that we're so busy trying to fix the problems that we have now. We do have a lot of issues, of course, at hand, and that's something that we're approaching definitely. But the next question is, how are we going to eliminate those issues later? Because the problem is, who's educating now? We're complaining about these kids, but how are we teaching them? Who's teaching them? At school, I was never given a seminar or anything that taught me where was the departments at the city hall, where I had to go for this. The only thing I knew was where the water department was to pay for the water
that's huge.
bill. But
That's
we're not
huge.
teaching them. We're not
That's
teaching
huge.
them where is it that they have to go to ask these questions. Where do they go to get involved?
Yeah.
Where do they go to ask questions? Where's the mayor's office? Where's any electives office?
That's
the
huge
issue.
thing right there.
Exactly. Because now how are we going to teach the new generation? So we can avoid these problems later.
Yeah.
Because obviously right now we're stuck with a lot of ignorant problems,
Mhm.
but we're gonna keep dealing with them because we're not solving
Right,
the
exactly,
issue from
because
the back.
But it goes back to what you
Ignorance
were saying,
breeds ignorance.
connecting your 2 points is we're not being taught appropriately, but you just
Yes.
said earlier that what were they putting on social media? That's what young
Exactly.
people are on social media. But we're not getting the minutes to the city council.
Right.
Those are supposed to be available on social media, but they're not. We're getting pictures of, a new fire truck, or look, this is what's coming to Compton, but we don't get any of the details
You
of
don't
what
get
you're
the back-
voting
you don't get the
on.
backstory.
We don't know that you're trying to pass pay over $1 million on a street sweeping contract.
Well, let's go smaller than that.
That could be used to pave a mile of streets.
Well, let's go smaller than that, Allie. Can we get stuff in layman's terms?
Or that.
Can we
Or that.
listen, even if you're going to put it on the agenda to be voted on, can we just get stuff in regular people's terms?
Regular people's terms.
I'm saying regular people's terms so that we can understand it. I mean this in no negative connotation whatsoever, but everybody did not go to college.
Right.
Everybody does not have a college degree. Everybody did not study politics as a major. Everybody did not go into government and was like, this is what I want to do.
I did though, and that's and you're still talking over my head a lot of times.
And so what I'm saying is, when you have a African American family or a Latino family, like for instance, and again, no disrespect, but if you have a Latino family that doesn't speak English at all, you're using all these extra words that they don't understand, and so they don't even know what they're voting on, right?
That's what I
And
said.
so my thing is, if we're going to even start the education process, can we start with a layman's terms seminar? We don't need the extra words
it's not even
and
a
things of
layman's
that nature.
term seminar. It's transparency.
Yeah,
Because
just
what
be
they-
honest.
It's just
Just be
let's
honest.
be real. When you don't want to answer a question, you're gonna talk. I'm gonna talk over your head to make you think I'm answering your
Exactly.
question, but
Exactly.
really I just talk to you
Or
in
I'm
circles.
gonna text somebody and find out how to get out of this question.
Exactly.
But that's the thing about coming to the citizens and as a council person, coming to the citizens in your district.
Speak up. Speak up. They gotta hear you.
Speaking to the people in your
some
district,
bass in their
so
voice.
that the people in your district will know you'll know what they expect of you and what they want from you, and then you go up there and you vote accordingly as far as to what the people in your district want, not what you want or what the council wants.
Let's talk about that for 5 seconds. Let's put our finger on there for 5 seconds, because I sat in my district and I sat in my district and asked my district representative for a town hall meeting several times, and I have yet to have a town hall meeting where I can ask questions and they can be answered in terminology that I understand. My biggest thing, and I said this to a couple of the representatives that were running, listen, the biggest thing right now is, if you're going to represent me, can I at least have a conversation with you? Can you hold regular town hall meetings for me to ask those questions? Because when you get up on the diocese, I got 3 minutes to complain or exhort or whatever I want to do for 3 minutes, and then you have 5,000 minutes to tell me what you don't like about what I said, and I never get an answer to my question. So my thing is, if they're gonna do that, can we get town hall meetings? Can we get town hall meetings?
Didn't you say that you can only do with what you're working with?
That's what I said.
Because you want him to do a whole lot of stuff that
I didn't say it was a him.
I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm not-
we're using him in a general
right.
term.
Okay. Yeah. Exactly.
Okay, I didn't say it was him.
Him is a general term. We're using him in the third person like we use them.
Exactly. Thank you.
But the thing is, if your council person never meets with her constituents, then they will never know what it is that you
Exactly.
But
Ever.
who
And
says
you will-
to say he wants to know what you want?
Exactly.
That's not what he
Exactly.
was there
But
for.
he was
That's
voted-
not what he
no,
ran on.
It is what he's there for, because he's there to represent you.
That's his job.
So-
that's
his
what he's
job.
supposed to
And
do.
We have to hold them accountable.
And
So-
but we haven't been. So
But
if you
but
let the
this
same
is
person run.
This is the new day.
Yes,
yes.
but you're running.
Right.
You're
right.
yeah.
But if I run and I'm able to, and I do everything that I want to do,
Yeah.
and I dismiss you, and I run again, and you re-elect me,
That-
and
that's not your
that-
fault.
That's not my fault.
That
the fact
becomes
that
the
I
challenge.
Run over and do everything
But
else,
you
you
know-
let
Oh
me
my
do
God.
that.
But you know what's interesting about this election? Let's just take this election as a teaching moment.
Yeah.
Because it was absolutely a teaching
Oh,
moment.
absolutely.
But let's break it
Oh my
down a
gosh.
little bit further. You have the older generation, you have the millennials. Okay? In District 1, we ousted the incumbent and we replaced her. In District 4, we voted the incumbent back in and we chose not to go with the younger, brighter, more energetic
Right.
millennial individual. That speaks volumes to the
Yes.
city.
I
That is
agree.
a teaching moment. It
I
was
agree.
not about what you look like. It was not about who you are. It was not about how well you speak, how educated you are. It is not about
Or not.
Right. It is not about their degrees. It is not about any of that. It is about who is best qualified to service the needs of this community. That is the message that should go forward.
And with that said, I mean, we have to. I mean, you know, low key, you know, even with the people that's in the studio audience, I got to give it up to the city of Compton for turning out in huge
Oh, they
numbers.
absolutely
this,
did.
This, you know, like, you know,
Yeah,
clap it up.
They
Like,
absolutely
yo,
did. They did.
Like we
that.
gotta clap it up for you all who turned out this election and made those necessary changes or whatever the case may be. That's something that needs to be applauded to the constituents of Compton. My indictment, however, is that you have to keep that going.
Keep
right?
that same
You
energy.
got to keep that same energy, bro. You got to keep that same energy, sis, because you putting somebody in a seat or you keeping somebody in a seat or getting somebody out of a seat will all change if you don't stay on that same fire. You
That's
feel me?
right.
So, you know, this current election, we had like over 3,000 voters to come out, you know, and that's collectively, right? I just
You have to
wanted
explain that that's good. for
that's
us.
huge. That's huge. When you talk about
It'll
a city,
sound like a big number.
when you talk about a city of constituents, that's about I'm just generalizing here, about 100,000 constituents within a city, right? And our regular voting numbers are what, like
half of that.
if half of that,
Right,
right?
like 10%.
If
It's about 10%.
if 10% of that, right? 100,000, 10% of that 100,000 then becomes what? 10,000. And then you talking
right.
if you get 10% of that 100,000 people to even go and vote, you know, you're doing excellent. We're not even talking about 10%. We're talking about 3% of that 100,000 who went to vote. Kudos to everybody.
Right.
But at this point, now you need to go up from here. You need to make sure that whether the person stayed in the seat or moved the seat, that you now call that same person and say, hey, I voted for you.
Right.
I need to make sure that before you get in that seat, let's have a town hall meeting. Let's talk about
Yes.
what we need
What
to
are you gonna
do
be doing?
in that seat. Or let's talk about
Let's
what.
have a meeting.
Yeah, let's have a meeting. Let's talk about what you're going to do when you stay in that seat. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because I put you in this seat believing that now you would listen to what I need. Right? And so if this election taught us nothing, it's one, that we have a people that are lazy.
No, absolutely.
Right.
No, I
Absolutely.
just want to throw that out there. I'm sorry. That we have a no
Didn't
real
see
talk.
that coming, but you're
You-
right.
we didn't see. I know. I kind of threw a curveball. But I say that we're lazy because we have the ability to do better and we just don't. Right? And it's not 100% that the information is not out there. It's not 100%. Now it might be like 75, 80%, but like it's not 100%. Sometimes it is the fact that we just don't go and research that information. And because we don't go and research that information, period, point blank, the Bible says it like this. I don't know if I can talk about the Bible on your radio show, but the people perish for the lack of knowledge. And not just the lack of knowledge, not just lack of knowledge that is not taught, lack of knowledge that is not researched. You see what I'm saying? And so for us, the constituents of the city, we need to make sure that we are researching the charter. The charter is huge, people. Go look at the charter, because you can't yell at somebody that is at the meeting for somebody that's not at the meeting. Okay, I just want to put that out there. Okay, look at the charter. Stop yelling at the people that come to the meetings and talk to the people that's not at the meetings.
I mean,
That's
I get
my-
where you're going with that, but I think reading the charter, that's a little too deep. Like, we need to just at least first to get them out to vote. 'Cause if we, like, can we get like
Can we get
at
that
least
vote?
50% of our city registered to vote? Because
Real
we're
talk.
still,
You know what?
still being let
Real
that
talk.
bad that hard.
Real
What
talk.
I think that the biggest part is the follow through. And since we don't have a
Follow through.
source behind us to like guide them there,
Mhm.
or it's the problem is that we can go and talk to somebody like how you guys were saying earlier, is that you run into Yo-Yo a bunch of times or whatever, you run into these people multiple times and you talk to them,
Yeah, his
have
name
a
is Yo-Yo?
conversation, but then you're gonna say, well, I can talk to you. Hey, you know the elections are gonna come up, but then it's like, okay, where am I gonna go register, or what website do I go to?
What do I
Where are
do?
the steps? Like where you
I
know?
mean, that-
That's
I
what we're
feel
not.
like
That's
you
the
need to
follow up that
research
we're
that
not
yourself.
having.
Again,
Like, you-
and that's the research component,
That's
right?
the
But I get what
right,
he's
right,
saying
right.
too.
But
No,
they
but
also
also-
sit on their hands and be
Right.
like, well, I didn't know.
I didn't
No.
know.
You know what I think it is, and let's just take it a step further. I think some of it can be because they're lazy. I think some of it is what's called the bystander effect.
Right.
I'm not gonna vote because
Yeah,
you gonna
she's
vote,
doing it already.
and you gonna handle
Right.
it.
Oh, you
for
gonna
me.
handle
I'm-
that.
I'm-
Right.
I don't need to go to the city council meeting and
That's
talk
what people
about
do in church.
about the trash.
Right.
Cause you going.
got that.
Yeah.
Yo, you going to the meeting tonight? Handle
Speak
that.
for me,
But-
girl. You know what I want.
I'm speaking from my experience.
and that's what happens. And the next thing you know, you got this one person who goes every week
Lone Ranger.
Right.
to speak
Lone Ranger.
to speak
Lone
for
Ranger.
the 40,000. My
Yeah.
seniors will call me, and I'll do it for a senior. I have no problem speaking for
Right.
a senior.
Right.
But
right.
when you my
Able-bodied.
age, and I'm a senior, but I'm not a senior.
Oh, you look good for your seniorism.
Thank you.
Your
Yes,
senior.
I am.
Your
Girl, but you know, I got an issue with going because I'm like, you need to come with me.
Yeah.
Come with. You don't have to talk, but just come with. Just be there. So when I look over my shoulder,
Exactly.
Yeah,
I
there
can
is strength
I'm
in
not there
numbers.
alone.
I can
But
see
in democracy,
There is strength in
it's
numbers.
literally
Numbers.
there's strength in numbers. There's no
Numbers.
way around it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
be present.
Well, what I'm saying is just like from my experience, because like I cannot like say that I've been like heavily involved within the city. I have always been like through outside, and I've always had a lot of friends that have been involved or whatever, and I speak to them like all the time or whatever, and they're a lot of activists and stuff. And I work a lot with outside of the city. I work for like Chamber of Commerce, but I worked in like Long Beach. I went to Long Beach State, and I've worked in
Beach.
nonprofit organizations.
so did I.
And I Beach.
Alumni, go Beach.
Yes.
Go Beach.
So like for me, like I've always been wanted to get involved, and like 2 years ago, I was the assistant manager at a H&R Block right here in Compton, and I even went across the street myself during my lunch to go talk to Aja Brown. And then for the same reason, because I want to express my concerns and I want to express like how I can become a value to our city. I literally went inside and I talked to her and I spoke to her and I told her, and, she's a great person. She's working on a lot of great things, and I'm sure. But I wasn't really. I felt like I wasn't directed. Where was it? And all she said was kind of like, oh, well, leave me your email, and then I'll definitely add you to the, I guess the list or whatever to reach out, or whatever events are coming up, or get on social media was kind of what she told me. And then I was just like I walked into the office to like kind of get answers. I wasn't really followed through with, and plus I never received an email. But I'm just saying, like, besides that, I mean, I've talked to multiple people.
She gonna send you an email.
I talked to Sarita.
She gonna send you an email.
I talked to Sasha
She gonna
Sarita,
send you an
May
email.
Thomas,
She gonna send
and
you
like I talked to multiple people because I also used to work at Staples in Compton, so I would constantly run into like electives. Yes, so I used to work there for a couple years, and I would always express my concerns if I spoke to them, and I would always help them and through conversation, make conversation, and then we would like get into that conversation. And the same, I would express the concerns and we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
The same thing, they'll give me their card, be like, hey, there's a leadership team that we're building up, and like give me your email or like stuff like that. But I've never once that's what I'm saying, expressing about like the follow through. It's like how is it that what happens next and how are we gonna get involved? Well obviously right now I think is more of a critical point because we have like a whole new chemistry. So now's definitely the time to dive into it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we also need a source to back us up to us
Yeah.
to like.
And you also need a sense of direction because what
Right.
happens is everybody's in it because we want change and we realize that we had to force change.
Right.
So everybody just kind of delved in and kind of found, it's like water, you seek your own level. So everybody was like, okay, so now that I'm decompressing from this election because I have to get ready for the 3rd district.
Yeah.
I know the school board is coming up in November, and that's going to be critical. That's going to be a huge undertaking, bigger than most people even imagine. But I've got to get my district together.
Right.
So I'm reached out to my council person because we need to have.
But conversations are good. Let's just be clear that conversations
It's important
are.
to open the platform.
You know what?
Yeah, like, talk
Conversations,
about it,
conversations are important, and we need conversations, but I'm not about a conversation. I need to have an authentic conversation.
Right.
If it's
Right.
not going to be authentic, then I'd rather not have it. If I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna tell you or ask you what I can expect from you, and then you're gonna tell me what you think I want to hear,
Right.
then that's not authentic, and we've wasted both of our time.
Okay.
Right.
So I need to have a genuine, wholehearted, authentic conversation in a safe space.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm rolling.
So I'm with all of that, but we need a sense of direction. We've got a new generation on board, and there needs to be some guidance, because there's gonna be some folks out there in the real world that are gonna gravitate towards you because you are young, you are energetic,
Yes.
and you are ready to go. And what they're gonna do is they're gonna take you and they're going to guide you
Mold you.
Exactly.
Right.
Into
into what
into
they
the culture that
want
they
you
want you to be.
to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then you're not going to be, you're going to wake up and you're going to realize you're not being true to yourself.
Yeah, and you're gonna hate yourself for it.
Absolutely.
And that's where the problem comes in. So that's where we need to have guidance. Guidance is important. And they don't teach civics and government in school
No,
anymore. And
they do
see,
not.
So that's
see,
the
when
problem
I
that
was
I always
going to
question,
school, we did that. We even had internships at City Hall. We did
That's something
all
we
of
need to
that.
bring back,
Yeah.
definitely.
So
I was an intern at City Hall.
Okay,
look
see,
at you.
and
And
we
look at you now.
I know.
and we were ready to
Go into that-
we
go
were
into
we were
that
ready
world.
to go. We
into that
understood the
world.
layers
Yeah.
of the
That-
city.
Yeah, we don't even talk about
Yeah.
we don't even talk about the three branches of the government anymore. You were gonna interject something, man.
I just wanted to interject real quick. I know you guys spoke on like the voting and everything.
Uh-huh.
So just to I kind of wanted to ask a question, but just to kind of recap on everything. To me, like essentially when you speak on voting, there's like three, I guess, major components. Registering to vote, actually voting, and the process of voting and who you vote for, right?
Mhm.
So we talk about that, and I guess I could use two examples. One of them is kind of like a hyperbole, right? Like an extreme exaggeration. So one of them will be like, let's just say, for example, we use City Hall, like let's just say someone extreme like Hitler. Sorry, it's hot in here, and someone like Trump, right?
Yes.
And you vote for both, like, would you feel? How do you guys feel about? Like, I have my personal opinions, but how do you guys feel if you were successful? You went through all this process and you had to choose two candidates and you still voted anyways to legitimize the system that necessarily has candidates that you might not think are qualified or are definitely are not there for your beliefs. So I guess you could use an example of real life to the recent elections when you guys endorsed certain people, and let's just say you guys got all these people to register to vote and it was great and they voted, but they voted against you guys. How would you guys felt that? Like, would that still be a success for you?
Absolutely.
Even though
I think the knowledge.
Absolutely.
I think the knowledge is still the bigger picture, right? So whether or not, and this is of course no indictment to those who won or lost, but the fact that information was given about this election and knowledge was given about the election and registration and things of that nature, that's definitely something that I feel as a win, right? It was definitely a win because there was education on voter registration, getting the word out there, and regardless to who you like or don't like, the information was given. And I think realistically, sometimes you got to have a third party out there that is giving objective kind of scenarios. You know what I mean?
I think it's all about like in a macro and a micro level. I think it's all about like the impact. I think most importantly, it's about the impact and how that whether you like the candidates or not, it's what formed from that.
Yeah.
Which is like the
What
people,
came from that,
right?
yeah.
What came from
Exactly.
that? How they bonded together to like make
Agreed.
a movement, right? I think that's the most important part from that.
Agreed. I think that was
And
good.
like we said before, we just need to get out there and we need to start the voter registration now. Don't wait until the election starts.
Good. All right. And with that said, we are going to take a small break. We'll be right back after this commercial message.
Hub City Dre, man. The Hub Radio, we are on our way to Centennial High School, man, to teach, got 400 men coming together to teach all the boys in the high school how to tie a tie properly. Just kind of giving back to the city, man. Just trying to get the kids, boys ready for real world.
But Hub Radio.
I put out the call. Thank you guys for answering the call. All righty. What we have here simply is we're going to teach the young men how to tie ties. Okay. We're going to jump in. 30% of the young men may be from foster care. Okay. So if we have 400, we're going to have about 120 of them from foster care that have never had a man in their life. Okay. Some young men may not have even had a father in their life. So this may be the very first time they have interaction with a man.
Hub City Dre, man, from the Hub Radio. We are out here at Centennial High School, man. We are about to teach these young men how to tie ties. We got a whole bunch of men coming out here to support. The sheriff department is there, holding it down, man. Students, staff, everybody here, man. They'll have a good time, man. And hold it down for the men in the city.
How
did you know that it was a need for these guys to know how to tie ties?
Because, you know, we knew a lot of young men who never knew how to tie ties, and then we're in the hip-hop generation now, so everybody kind of wear tennis shoes and T-shirts, and so I was like, this is a good way for us to interact. Like, we can teach how to tie a tie, so when you have your wedding or you're going to somewhere nice, you'll know how to knot up.
Hub Radio.
District 1.
My name is Eric Beltran. I live in District 4.
Ali X, District 4.
Luis, District 3.
All right, 1443. All right, I love it. We're going to get into the school district conversation because now that the elections in Districts 1 and 4 are over, the next election that the city has is in November for the school district, and everybody's kind of turning their sights there. I know we've all seen the viral video of Satra in the mink coat singing the Cardi B song. Super, super cute. But now let's get into what's happening at the schools.
Right,
because if we have time to make these videos,
right,
I know everything better be on point with our schools, right?
Failing school district.
And right now our school district has a grade of 2 out of 10. So how are you guys feeling about that? You guys have relatives or children in the school district?
Yes, I definitely have a little sister. She's in high school. She's now going into senior year. So I mean, my goal right now is, I mean, I never had much guidance towards, you know, and I'm a college graduate, so
that's nice.
I always had to go searching for my own answers because I was never guided. I was first generation in college, so I think definitely one of the things was teaching her the route and how to be a step forward as far as her route to college or being in college, because I was never guided. It took me like 5 years and a half to graduate, so I know that I could have been avoided in many ways. Was I guided in the right direction? So one of my main concerns is like just teaching her the way so she can prepare herself for it.
Right.
Because the school system obviously doesn't.
It's extremely poor, and I think it's extremely unfortunate the fact that my son's now 8, and he's born and raised in Compton and has never stepped foot into a Compton school.
Correct.
Because
my kids aren't in Compton schools either.
Exactly. I had to send him to Long Beach to go to a Montessori school where I pay $700 a month so that he can get a decent education.
But you pay taxes here.
Exactly.
And then you have to go send him somewhere else and pay more money. Okay.
To another city.
I'm with you.
And the part that's and I remember even going up to visit Dominguez and visit Compton College and seeing, wait, you have an elementary school bell schedule. absolutely no sense. And when I asked why, oh, because this is what the school board voted on.
Exactly, which is what goes back into that, basically idea that a lot of the people who are voting in Compton are uninformed voters. We're just going and we're like, well, I voted, and it's like, but
Right.
what did you vote for? It's almost like if you don't know what you're voting for, let's just take the time to get educated before we go and make some mistakes in regards to this election.
I think when we talk like in general, when you're saying about uneducated voters, I think the thing about it all is that, systematically it's very difficult to kind of break this down a lot of, when it comes to discourse, a lot of other things, just because of the fact that education and even politics in general is meant to be exclusionary. Like,
You're absolutely correct.
a lot of the individuals, it's very difficult to break down, like, I can sit here, like personally me, like I pretty much specialize in policy, like I love it, like that's my thing, but I can give you something at policy and you might not understand it as much as me, and that's not necessarily an attack on someone, it's just the fact that it's so difficult. It's both a gift and a skill that you learn at the same time.
Right.
And it's very difficult. That's why we see a lot of elected officials, that's why we see people in Congress, and a lot of them are lawyers, like there's a reason for that.
Right.
And it's so difficult because how do you kind of disseminate the information of politics, to a version where everybody's able to understand
and
it.
it's
Yeah,
palatable for
exactly.
everybody, so they know. But it's possible. It's possible.
Definitely,
It
yeah.
is.
Can I chime in on that though? Because when you're talking about elections, when you're talking about things of that nature, I've actually seen them go into closed chambers for hours.
Right.
Right? So when we're talking about things to vote on, when we're talking about things for us to be knowledgeable about, I've literally seen the school board go into closed session
And lock you out.
and for hours,
Uh-huh.
and they have stayed in there until people have left, and then after they left, then they come out to vote on those things that people have a challenge of. I think it even goes back to the whole talking about putting politics back into those schools, because the school board does not talk about the relevance between the school board and the city council.
No, they try to make it seem like it's so separate,
Oh,
but
and it's not.
we can get into some of these stories because I have some firsthand stories. First of all, I believe that the current school board district is leaving themselves open to a lot of lawsuits if parents decide to get litigious. And I'm especially passionate about the special needs community because I have an 11-year-old with autism. I keep a special needs attorney on retainer because I don't play. And I know how it goes. And talking to some of the residents in the city about IEP meetings in the Compton School District for these disadvantaged children, they're saying that the school district's telling them things like, well, we can't provide those services because we don't have the budget. Here's the thing. That child has a right to a free and fair education. That's the law. If you don't have the services, you have to find a school that has the services. If you don't have a school in your district that has the services, you have to extradite that child to another district.
Right.
There are laws in place. Now, I personally was driving down Rosecrans, and I get chills every time I talk about this, about last week, and saw a 6-year-old playing in the street.
Oh, no.
He came from Mayo Elementary, right there on Rosecrans and Willowbrook, and he was crossing from the intersection to the corner and back and forth. I had to pull over. Once I got out the car, young Hispanic male, about 6 years old, I realized immediately that he had autism. Another car pulled over. A woman jumped out in scrubs. I'm like, I don't know what's going on with this kid, and there's no mom inside. We're trying to figure it out. I'm like, he has autism. She's like, I know, I can tell my daughter has it. So we're there trying to assess. A woman comes up running on a cell phone. I'm like, okay, great, that's his mom. Are you his mom? No, I'm his school aide. I said,
Lord.
you're a school aide. I said, so what happened? Because he's here playing in the street. She said, well, he got away from me. That's completely unacceptable. I'm 100%, and I was there, I saw this. I'm 100% positive that his parents weren't notified. If they were, we're opening ourselves up to a lawsuit there. The mom who pulled over to assist me with him has a daughter in Compton Unified, and she said her daughter, who rides the bus, got off of the bus one morning for school and walked home. She said, by the grace of God, she was home to recept her daughter, called her husband, he came home, and she said, we're not going to call the school. Let's wait and see how long it takes them to call us. She said it took them 3 hours to call her and notify her that her daughter was missing and was not at school. So I don't know if they were trying to find her. I don't know if they didn't even know. But they're leaving themselves open to lawsuits. So let's talk about these elections that are coming up in November. If you have time, once again, to pose online with me, Koso, and I'm not saying that you're responsible for these children, because one-off things happen. But overall, the conversation in the special needs community here in the Compton School District is that their needs aren't being met and their kids are not safe.
But isn't there specific funds made for special needs classes given by the federal government?
Absolutely, absolutely. But they're being told in meetings that the school doesn't have the budget for the services that they need.
And a lot of the services in Compton were being provided by LA County.
Right.
They had some of the schools where they had the special needs program. But the biggest problem that we have is that you go to a school board meeting, there's only staff and teachers there. There are no parents. And parents are the
Right.
ones,
That's the-
parents are
yeah,
the people
right.
that need to dictate the policy.
Yeah.
Right.
And if the parents don't come out, the closed session he was talking about, I worked for him for 20 years. I know about that, but that's usually reserved for personnel matters. That's what it's supposed to be for. But they do wait the people out because they know that if you sit there until 10 o'clock, everybody's trying to get home to their families, trying to get home to dinner.
Right.
So they're going to leave. And when they leave, they'll come out and they'll do whatever it is that they have to do. But if the parents don't start to get involved in the schools with their children, it's going to continue to be what it is.
Yes, because
You're
at
right.
the end of the day, they're only going to do what we as constituents
Allow them to do. But how about we put people in place who are not just going to take advantage of the fact that the parents
But
are
that's
not
on us.
involved?
Exactly.
How about we go and record one night of the school board meeting who's there, and then bring it back and put it on the air, or record it live and ask why aren't the parents involved? We grew up with a PTA.
Mhm.
Well, your parent went
You
to
right.
school.
They're
Your-
still there.
your-
There's still PTAs. I'm a part of
And
one.
the last time I was a PTA, I was the only parent, and I was the only black parent.
Wow.
Only black parent there, only male.
Oh, I'm sure you're the only male.
Oh,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
definitely
That's
the only
shocking.
male.
Right.
And you know what? You're absolutely right, because I said, and the first thing I said on this show was, I had to take my son at the age of 4 or 3, whenever I put him in school, and had to pay $700 a month for him to go to a private school. But I will have to also admit that I have never been to one school board meeting to try to correct.
I'm scared to go because
But-
I'll lose it.
I've been to a school board meeting, and again, that waiting process is so long that you get drained, right? One. Two, they do it on a day where they know nobody's going to show up.
So it's done by design.
It's done
It's
by
It's done by design.
You know that council meeting is on Tuesday. They do their meeting on a Wednesday or some outlandish day where they know that multiple people aren't
Friday
able
night.
to show up.
Friday
8 o'clock.
And so when they do those things, I've been to council meeting, I've been to school board meeting when they're promoting everybody, when they're talking about how good everybody's doing, but I've never been to a council meeting where they have a real conversation about the problems that's going on. That allocation of funds, we need to hold them just as accountable as we do
Absolutely.
the city council.
Right. Well, everybody's complaining about property taxes and not realizing that, okay, bonds were taken out.
Yeah.
Compton College took out their bond. We know
Yeah.
they just got their accreditation back.
Exactly.
They look like they made good on their bond. Satra, Micah, well, we'll see.
We'll see.
They making some progress.
Yeah.
Satra, Micah, you guys took out a bond too. What's happening? I see kids in the street. I
Right.
see kids getting off of buses and
Right.
trolloping off into the night. Like, what are you doing with your money? Satra, you just got $10 million grant.
10.
You're talking about the Gear Up program. So I did some work and some investigative work into it. What's the Gear Up program? It's her college readiness program. She has a list of 6 to 8 elementaries and middle schools that she plans to go into, vet these kids and get them ready for college. Okay, we all know how to budget. 10 million. I don't think that all those funds should be allocated just for that. You're not going to spend
Right.
10 million getting 15 middle schoolers ready
Because
for
it's
college at 8
allocated
different
to
schools.
that
Like, come
on
on.
paper, but where is it actually going?
You know,
Where is it actually going? On
Yeah.
paper, that's where it's allocated, but no one is doing any research to follow up and find out, okay, what is this being spent on?
Right.
Where did this $10 million actually
Where's the transparency?
go?
There's no transparency in the city across the board.
by design.
I mean,
Yeah.
in general, it's kind of difficult to kind of even try to break that down, you know.
No, it's not.
Well,
No,
I
it's
mean,
not.
in general,
They make
like,
it difficult.
I mean, well, yeah, they make it difficult. That's kind of where I was going towards, especially
Right.
when we talk about the appropriation of funds. You know, sometimes they'll do what we call a smart accounting. Like, you know, you'll have like a whole account and they'll take money from that fund and they'll say they used it, but they actually used it for something else. Kind of like what they did with Measure P. Like, they said, oh, we're gonna use it for this, but then it's spread out, and then you look back and you find out what they used it for, and you're like, wait, I didn't know they used it for that.
You're
And the
absolutely
thing
right.
is that, like, the sad part to me is that I don't know necessarily anybody who's, I'll be honest with you, that's probably one of the only things that I'm kind of like haven't looked at as much is like the election and stuff and CUSD. But overall, I think it's kind of sad because when we talk about neighborhoods who are very low income, we use schools as, it's more than just a school, you know, we go there, it's kind of like a place that we spend where our parents, you know, they go to work and then we stay there and, you know, we obviously grow and we try to be educated, but at the same time it's kind of quote unquote somewhere where we eat sometimes. So people don't have anything to eat, so they go there and they get
Oh,
food. They
summer
go there.
programs.
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
that.
definitely. So it's definitely more beneficial than that. And in other places, like parents can afford to kind of like send them to a retreat or anything like that. Like we can't do that. So what do? We send them to summer school sometimes. They get a meal. They it's like daycare, not in a negative way, but sometimes it's like daycare.
But see,
you get your
she brought
education.
up a good point though. Not to cut you off, but she's saying that they cut summer school off, they cut this off, they cut that off. So I see Dr. Dre coming and bringing money. I see you getting grants, but all I see is schools closing down. Now they're rumored to be shipping Dominguez off to Paramount School District, and schools are closing, but money's coming in.
Yeah.
Right.
Bonds are being taken out.
But they couldn't get the Dre money, so because they couldn't control it.
No, because he knows what's up.
Exactly.
He's like, I'm from here and I know. I know the game.
If it's not spent the way that he wants it to be
Yeah.
spent, then it's not gonna be. It's not gonna be put in.
And very well within his right.
Exactly.
Well, it's his money.
It's his money.
Didn't that happen with Kendrick Lamar as well? With his money?
Exactly.
Yeah, he wanted to donate, but because they were like, nah, it's just going to go into the general
Into
fund
the
and we're going to do
general
what we
fund.
want to with it. He was like, nah.
Nah,
Yeah,
but
but
this is going to what I wanted to
Exactly.
I
And I
believe
think
I believe he
that
did
we lose
donate, but
Right.
then like he did, but I don't know if you guys I've seen like a really old interview like where he did donate, but like he never told anyone because he kind of pretty sure already knew that like it was gonna be used for something else. So he was doing it kind of like under the table, like I don't really want to tell no one, but they kind of put him in the
He
spot.
didn't want to put his name
So like
on it.
yeah, because of course, because everybody's gonna use the funds. Everybody wants the funds, but when we talk about how to use the fund, everybody starts arguing about how to use it because it's a lot of money and a lot of people Compton has been known to kind of take advantage of that. Like government in general has been known. If you look at like the United States in general, think about how bad we are. Like the allocation of funds, and think about like just our city in general, how bad our reputation we have. Like I feel like we don't have like that fiscal responsibility, and or I'm to me like I even kind of question how knowledgeable they are in allocating the funds and using them. Like, do you guys even know how to use them effectively?
Others,
Are
that's
you
a very
like,
good point.
who's
But qualified? Who on the
We've been
school
talking
board
about
is
that all
actually
night.
qualified?
Well, the rumors
Well,
going around of
no,
people who are on the
who's
school
not
board who
qualified?
don't have college educations, and I'm not a degree snob, but I feel like if you work in education, you should have one.
Absolutely.
And my thing is just
But
that.
that's no difference. We have people in the city council that didn't even have a high school diploma.
Well,
So,
That's true.
I mean,
That's true. But you know what? Going back to education. Education is a basic human right.
it is
But people don't fight for their human rights because they don't know they have human rights.
right.
There's a human rights organization, and people have this thing about calling in the news media. We need to call in a human rights organization because our human rights are being neglected.
Mm-hmm.
And so the children, the holders of our future are being neglected because we have a group of, for lack of a better term, and forgive me if I insult anyone, we have a group of parasites that are sitting there that are leeching and sucking off of these children. The more children you have registered in a school, the more money you get. Doesn't matter how you're teaching the children.
Or how the money's being
It
spent.
doesn't matter if the
Right.
buildings are dilapidated
Right.
because I was poll watching.
We just need the children in school on this attendance so we can
Get the money.
get a check.
Get the money. Right.
That-
Until people who are qualified start going in and shutting stuff down. I was poll watching, and I happened to be in there with an urban developer and an urban planner, black woman, bad sister, and we're just in there, and she's looking around like there are several violation codes happening in this library right now. We're in the library of Willowbrook. She's like, there's mold in this building.
Oh Lord.
And so we got to talking, and she's like, if we came in here and did an inspection, they would have to shut this down because this library is not up to code.
That's
So again,
sad.
But they can't do that, right? So you know what they do? They have the accreditation, right? Every so many years they have accreditation. Well, the state can't come out and just go to a school and check a school. They have to inform them that they are coming. And what they do is they inform them when they're coming. So what they'll do is they'll get all of their crews together and they'll say, we need you to go to this high school, we need to straighten this high school up, do this middle school, we need to fix this middle school
at
up.
least it's getting done.
You only getting 3 schools, and that's only
Every
for
how
the
many
And
years?
that's only for the accreditation.
But that makes sense though. That makes sense.
We gotta
though.
call them. We just gotta call them.
No.
Because you deprive yourself.
No.
When you show that your schools are in good condition, when they're actually dilapidated,
You're
then
absolutely
you don't
exactly.
get this
We
money.
don't get the
You
funding
get
to
no
fix it.
funding.
You don't get the
this
funding
No,
to
what I'm
fix it.
saying, what I'm saying it makes sense though is because if we really have been paying attention, I want to say the last 2 years, you've seen a lot of schools kind of come up a little bit. You've seen greenery been put out there. You've seen gates be fixed. You see what I'm saying? You've seen a lot.
Oh, I see the murals,
That's
but
what
I
I'm
see you
saying.
still have a grade 2 out of 10.
No,
That's what I'm looking at. First and foremost.
I don't care about a
It's
mural.
the 2.
But you gotta
Exactly.
realize Compton Initiative
But that's
is
called
also
exactly.
doing
That's
those
called the
murals
initiative.
on
That's
those
what
schools.
I'm
That
saying.
is- That is not the Compton Unified
No,
School
I'm
District.
rolling with all.
Yeah, no,
what
we're
I'm
saying the same thing.
I'm just saying that it's always around the election times that we see
That people start cleaning up.
Oh,
stuff start coming up.
absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? Gates get painted. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Grass start getting green. You
Didn't
feel
they
me?
come out with that list of streets that
Yeah,
the streets
right.
are about to get
All of
paved?
a sudden,
Oh,
and
a
so
couple weeks
what-
for
what
election,
I'm-
right?
What I'm saying to agree with you is that you talk about somebody coming in here to audit the city. If you have somebody coming here and audit the school district itself, you will find that the schools are failing the students. I took my
Absolutely.
son out of the city
I
because he
couldn't do it
came
at all.
from a school with A's, got into Compton school and failed. How is that possible?
Oh,
Right.
How is that
that's
possible?
actually exactly what happened to
And
me.
so the problem is,
That's
what you
crazy.
have-
And
what
I got
you have-
immediately put into private school.
You have non-qualified, and I really don't mean no disrespect when I say this, but you have non-qualified teachers teaching students just to get a check because they don't care.
Well,
See that student, put them in a basketball league, let them go. Come on, that's really what's happening in our school
what
district.
you have is you have a lot of teachers, young college students that's coming through the Teach for America program.
Yeah.
They come from the Teach for America program. Most of these are Caucasian women, young Caucasian girls, never really been around minority kids at all. Have no understanding what a Hispanic kid's life is like or a black kid's life is like.
Right.
So they have no control. You cannot teach a kid if you cannot control a classroom.
Right, but we have bigger problems than that because it starts at the top. When you have the vice president and president of the school board switching off roles, like we're playing a game of tag or we're doing sketch comedy, what are we doing? This is a serious position. So, this week you're the vice president and I'm the president. The next week I'm the vice, and then you have the vice president holding several other jobs and positions.
Right.
I need you to focus.
But then,
You got it too.
but not only that, let's take it
Take off
above
that raccoon
the
coat
president of the vice
and get to
president,
work.
and let's just be clear with the superintendent, because it starts at the top, and it's supposed to trickle down. Nobody ever talks about the superintendent.
But didn't they just get rounded up by the FBI?
It's like
So let's get into that. No, freeze. We can't skip over that. No, Gilda. And no, I never try to shut you down. But you just made a decent point there. We can't skip over that. Now you have to understand that your superintendent of the Compton Unified School District just got wrangled in by the FBI with a couple of the other top-ranking officials. The corruption is widespread. It's like a cancer, guys.
It is,
That's why we have to cut it.
Lord.
We gotta cut it. So while we're talking about all the cutthroat millennial tactics, that's what time it is.
Yeah, but you gotta cut.
It's
You gotta
bulldog
cut it.
time.
You gotta cut it with people that are knowledgeable to be able to fill those positions too.
Absolutely,
You know
but
what I'm saying?
we're
Because we can't put stupid people in there.
no, we cannot. But at least the discussion has been started.
Yeah.
So as a city, everybody's awake.
But then that's the thing. We have to start grooming the next set
Right.
of who's going to replace them because
And that's what we're doing.
Within this last election, we didn't really have the best pickings to choose from. Besides Michelle Chambers, I think she's amazing. But you have to realize the next generation of leaders is not being formed. It's not.
No.
Well, we're
recycling.
We're
Yes,
recycling.
yes, we
But you know
absolutely
what?
are.
Let me say this.
And we're wrapping up.
There are
There's a school board meeting. I'm sorry, Dre said we got to wrap up. We do want to let everybody know there's a school board meeting this week, June 12th at 6 p.m. What is the 12th? That's what, Wednesday? Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So y'all come out, wait them out. Don't let them pull that mess.
But I need you to understand, you are aware as to why the school board meetings are on Wednesday now, right? No.
They
Let
don't
me
want
give
the
you some
church folks to
background.
go.
No. Saxra ran for the city clerk position, and she thought she was going to become the city clerk.
Ooh.
Council meets on Tuesday.
So she wanted to be able to hold both?
Yes. So she moved it from Tuesday to Wednesday.
They like to juggle jobs when I do a damn thing. It's like I'm on the
That's
council,
what
I'm on
I'm
the school
saying.
board, I'm not
Like,
doing
what-
nothing,
are
I
they
got
trying to
3
collect
jobs.
titles?
To accommodate her.
Are they trying to collect titles? I'm confused.
Yeah.
They're Jamaicans.
Like, cause why? You cannot efficiently do both jobs.
True.
You
They
can't.
But they can if we let them.
Who is looking for efficacy?
My bad.
I mean,
My bad.
come on,
You're
let's-
right.
Let's just be
Right.
clear.
I think that. Oh, are we wrapping up? We're done. You gonna take us off?
We need to vet some teachers.
Oh yeah, we've been off.
All right, we're going to take a break real quick.
Wow, you could have walked in.
Oh, I actually just took it off. Yeah.
Motherfucking pack.
Love is a weapon, love is a cure. It's an addiction that most can't ignore. We crave it, we need it, we feel it, no meaning. When I leave them, no feelings. Yeah.
Cleanup Man. We provide professional, affordable, dependable services from carpet cleaning and upholstery to flooring, 7 days a week, same day or by appointment. So call, text, or message 562-279-6488 for service as good as advertised.
Coco's Lip Smacking Cupcakes offers custom cakes and cupcakes for every occasion. We proudly bake everything from scratch. With every moist and mouth-watering bite, you will be smacking your lips by the time you are finished. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Lip Smacking Cupcakes.
Hub City Dre, man. The Hub Radio, we are on our way to Centennial High School, man, to teach, got 400 men coming together to teach all the boys in the high school how to tie a tie properly. Just kind of giving back to the city, man. Just trying to get the kids, boys ready for real world.
The Hub Radio.
I put out the call. Thank you guys for answering the call. All righty. What we have here simply is we're going to teach the young men how to tie ties. Okay. We're going to jump in. 30% of the young men may be from foster care. Okay. So if we have 400, we're going to have about 120 of them from foster care that have never had a man in their life. Okay. Some young men may not have even had a father in their life. So this may be the very first time they have interaction with a man.
Hub City Dre, man, from the Hub Radio. We are out here at Centennial High School, man. We are about to teach these young men how to tie ties. We got a whole bunch of men coming out here to support. The sheriff department is there, holding it down, man. Students, staff, everybody here, man. They'll have a good time, man. They're holding it down for the men in the city. How did you know that it was a need for these guys to know how to tie ties?
Because, you know, we knew a lot of young men who never knew how to tie ties, and then we're in the hip-hop generation now, so everybody kind of wear tennis shoes and T-shirts, and so I was like, this is a good way for us to interact. Like, we can teach how to tie a tie, so when you have your wedding or you're going to somewhere nice, you'll know how to knot up.
All right, we are back. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Hub Radio, sponsored by the Hub Radio, right? Thank you so much for watching. If you are watching, this is the second part of the Who is Your Candidate podcast. Just to recap a little bit about what we've talked about on tonight, we talked about the breaking news, the sudden resignation of the city manager, Mr. Cecil Rambo. We talked about recapping the election last week, what that looks like with the new candidate that is now that is going to be in the seat, and the remaining incumbent that is still in her seat. We also talked about what that election looks like on a general scale from the city, right? With us turning out in huge numbers this past election to make those changes happen. So again, big ups to the constituents for making that a huge success this election. And then we talked about the school district and the necessity of education within the school district, what that looks like, how we need to make changes on there, how we need to improve our city council and our school district. So with that said, we are going to take this time now to kind of just open up the floor to audience feedback. And this audience feedback deals with whether we talked about something tonight or something that they just wanted to bring up. So with that said, we're going to open it to the audience to give us their feedback. Anybody?
Well, I wanted to say something that was a little politically incorrect in regards to Rambo. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like it hasn't even been a week since the election, and it just looks like you're jumping ship before your ship gets burned down. I mean, we all know he has a baby with Satra. We all know that he's like really ingrained in that family, and I just don't think that it's a coincidence that Zarita gets unelected and then all of a sudden you resign.
Hold on, you won't just
Are we still live? Are we live? I just want to go on record, but I don't know nothing about that. Okay, all right. That's audience feedback. All right, next audience member with feedback. But yeah, okay. Yeah. Where do you go from there?
Nowhere.
Okay.
I think that.
Thank you.
I think that it is so crucial that we don't kind of sit back like what we did with Obama, like, oh, we voted him as president, oh cool, and then we can sit back and not do anything else.
Right.
That's not what we can do.
Right.
We can afford that. More than ever, we have to jump on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, now that the election's over, we need to be present.
Mm-hmm.
If we're not able to attend the meetings, we still need to be aware of what's going on and making sure that they uphold their promises. They uphold the platform, because that's the only way things are going to get done. And if they're not the right person, instead of going to city council meetings to cuss them out over and over and over again, go to your block. Get everybody registered on your block and on the next block and get them all to go down and vote for someone else, or start grooming the next generation of leadership. But at the end of the day, it's not just on the council. We have to make sure we make them do their job, because we are who they answer to.
Yeah. Can I just chime in 2 seconds and say, listen, if you go into council meeting just to cuss, stop it. I mean, no real talk. If you go into council meeting just to cuss, all right, I really just want you to stop it. I want you to act like a mature adult, and I want you to learn how policy is affected and how to change policy. Stop coming up there to cuss and blast people, because let's just leave it at this statement right here. Okay? You got skeletons too, okay? And we just want to make sure that we all have skeletons. So just make sure that while you throwing the rock, that your house ain't glass. You know what I'm saying? But real talk, if you're going to council meeting just to cuss, then cut it out. There's larger ways for us to change policy and be effective in our rants than just you getting up there to cuss. Anybody else?
We need to keep the energy going. We need to work on the voter registration, not just for the city, but for the schools. We need to keep informing people. We need to get our dais, our council members, a copy of Robert's Rule of Order.
Yeah.
You know, literally, I'm serious.
I'm rolling with you.
You know, and they need to read it, and they need to understand how it works. You know, it's like we need people that's gonna represent us in a positive light, man. We don't need the negativity. You know, we don't need our council members going out, getting knocked out, getting drunk. You know what I'm saying? We need
2 times.
Because they represent, yeah,
Pulling
twice.
guns
So
on
they
people.
represent us, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? And manhandling us and trying to dog us and bullying us, you know what I'm saying? On the dais, walking out, you know.
Goodness.
If you get up and you walk out, it means you abandon your position. That's how I feel.
That's there.
You know what
A
I'm
little
saying?
bit.
You are abandoning your position.
That's how it's seen in war.
And abandoning the people that you support. We're
Yeah.
supposed to be supporting.
Yeah.
So we need to get with our council people, and we need to talk to them, and we need to let them know that I believe that they should have a town hall meeting every month.
Yeah.
Every month.
Yeah.
Prior to any agenda items that go on the agenda.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think that we need to know. We need to have some input on what's happening in the city.
Yeah.
You know, jobs, when you bring in new companies and businesses, there needs to be a certain amount of jobs that are allocated to the people in the community. You know, stop letting them import everybody from suburbia to come and work in our communities, you know?
That's a whole nother Hub City radio podcast.
Yes, sir. But
That's just my
Yes, it
opinion.
is.
But we
It's a
need
whole
to make
nother
them accountable.
podcast.
Everybody needs to be accountable, and we need to. It was brought up at about 3 or 4 city council meetings ago about accountability and about committees, oversight committees, and we can't just let that die. You know, we need to get started with that. We need to work with the council people, and we need to start some.
Brother Gregory.
Have people from every district that come and sit down in oversight, you know, and see what they're putting on the agenda. We can make a difference.
Yeah. You want to say something, man?
Yeah, I just wanted to recap on everything, kind of like the points that I think are very important to myself and to all of us in this room. Like you guys have been saying, I think right now is the time for everyone to get involved mostly. Like you said, we need to build that movement and get that momentum going. Right now, more than ever, like you guys said today, not only just because of the new elected officials, but also with our new city manager that's been, resigned. So, I mean, something that I think that everyone needs to see is that we need definitely more transparency, not only for us, but for our younger community. And, you know, so we can know also transparency on our budgets, where they're going and what are the projects and how are they being funded, like the correct way as they're broken down. Because millions don't really break down exactly how they're being, you know, where they're being allocated, how they're being paid for.
Yeah.
And as well as educating our younger community. That's something that it's our biggest, I think that's our biggest, like everyone in this room especially, I think that's our biggest responsibility is to go and educate our younger community, as well as for myself, I'd say the Hispanic community. Because I know that, like, even going to high schools and stuff, like I see that there's much more Latinos now, and it's becoming like, and they're really quiet, like, you know, as far as like things happen, issues happen around our neighborhood, and everyone just stays quiet because they don't want to get involved because they're very conservative.
Right.
So that's something it's a very big issue, and it really needs to, you know, we really need to find a way to get them more involved, and that definitely has to do with our responsibility and our part. And then just like network, learning where our sources are, not only in the city but outside of our city. Where is it that we're going to rely on these things, and how is it that we're going to support our businesses, and how we're going to support small businesses in our city, and to teach them how to get contracts within our city instead of hiring all these third party, you know, contracts to come in and do all these services and paying them millions rather than helping our smaller businesses that are succeeding
Absolutely.
correctly get funded, and you know, so we can build as an economy, as our city, our own economy within our city, right? And then just basically just bringing that support, and I think it was a great conversation. So I think it was very important.
I think two things that you said that's really important is that educational factor as it relates to unification within our city. The African American and Latino community has to come together. It's enough. It's enough, guys. It's enough.
Young and old.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's enough. None at all. We're all affected. We're all affected by these changes, and so the Latino community and the African American community have to come together, as I had previously asked like 3 years ago for that to happen. I'm gonna keep bringing it up. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm gonna keep bringing it up. I just gotta press it. I just gotta press it, right?
You know your history. It might make a whole lot of sense.
But the Latino African American community has to come together, and then two, you were talking about making sure that as we move forward now, that these changes happen, hold them accountable for what they said they're going to do, right? I'm an advocate for. That's what you said. Is that what you said? Let me run back what you said. right, let me make sure I run back what you said. And if we don't do that, then we're no good. We're no better than anybody else that has got up there and said whatever they're going to say. Got to hold them accountable. Got to make sure that they do what they want to do. And hopefully, I don't know how anybody else feels about this, but hopefully we see some progress now that we have a couple of changes going on. That's my 2 cents.
I think what you said was powerful in respect to the fact that you talked about transparency in education. Not just did you talk about it, but you also gave an example of what it looks like. And that's where people often drop the ball. We use language and discourse so often until it loses its meaning. It loses its sting. Everybody says, oh, the city council needs to be transparent. But when you sit down and you actually ask an individual, what does transparency look like? They can't tell you. What you did was you just gave a brilliant outline of what transparency and education looks like. You're in the 3rd district, which is my district. We gonna do some things together.
Gonna do some things. Can we end by reminding everybody that city council meeting is on Tuesdays at 5:30 p.m. every Tuesday. Yeah, I was trying to be nice. Tuesdays 5:30 p.m. is city council meeting, and then June 12th, again June 12th, 2019 is a school board meeting. If you cannot make city council meeting, you should definitely put it on your agenda to make the school board meeting, and or vice versa. All right. Anything from you, my man? Before we
just like to reiterate some of the points I think we kind of skipped over that were really important, was just kind of someone pointed out like the recycling of our politicians. I think that's very important, and I think that's a trend that I see today. Like personally, I would have loved seeing Michelle Chambers versus someone who's actually well versed in politics, and I would have liked to see what was the outcome of that instead of her going someone who was pretty much gonna lose because they were out. I mean, that's true.
That's true.
No guarantee she was gonna lose. But for the most part, you see the kind of like it was foreseeable, and then I really want to see someone that people in Compton like to call themselves civil servants, but a lot of the time I see citizens wanting for them to be civil slaves. Like they want them to do everything they want them to do.
Right.
And I really want someone who's not afraid to make a decision, even though the public's against them, but they know it's best for the city.
Yes.
I want them to put their career in line, because I don't know if you guys have noticed the trend, but politicians come here, they run for one term, and then they run for terms such as Congress, such as Senate, and
Right.
I feel like it exactly took the word right out of my mouth. I think it's a stepping stone, and I think the most embarrassing part of it is that like most of our politicians don't even get like a majority of the vote in there, so we look terrible because every single politician that has ran gets like 3% vote, and
300 people.
I mean, overall, and it kind of shows like the quality of our politics. So I would really like to see more from our politicians, but more from civil engagement as well, because our leaders can only do so much, and we're the leaders. There's nothing without us, and we're the ones who have to make changes. They can only do so much, and they only control so little.
Right.
If it's not for us, then they have no power. So that was the biggest takeaway.
You're absolutely
Absolutely.
All right, y'all. We are getting ready to get up out of here. Thank you for tuning in to the Hub City Radio. Tune in next week, same time, same Facebook channel. All right, at 6:30 p.m. with new topics, new things to talk about. Thanks for joining us. Hub City Radio. We out.
Motherfucking